Hello, I'm Ari Kotler, the host of Different on SleepyHollowRadio.com. During my show, I introduce you to incredible people who have overcome profound challenges to become successful. This episode will take us to Hollywood. That's right, Hollywood. You will meet an astonishing actor, Tobias Forrest, who has paved the way for artists of all types of different abilities. As a producer, screenwriter, actor, comedian, and soulful singer, Mr. Forrest is a trailblazer for the differently abled. Presently working as a featured actor in the upcoming motion picture Supercrip, Tobias will enlighten a worldwide audience, advocate for the disability community, and provide more opportunities for people challenged by physical and neurological disabilities. Tobias, Toby for short, is not new to show business. He has 7 prestigious film nominations and has won 4 major film awards, most notably for the film he wrote and acted in, Dead End Drive. Dead End Drive was awarded the Best Short Film Award and the Best Short Horror Film Award. As an actor, he is recognizable for his work on countless television shows, including the ABC legal drama TV thriller How to Get Away with Murder, where he played opposite Viola Davis, who is an EGOT winner. He also appeared in the CBS series Wisdom of the Crowd opposite Jeremy Piven. He also appeared in the comedy Special Unit about 4 disabled undercover detectives who were assigned a training officer that is the worst cop in LA. Toby is a person who has overcome a variety of challenges to succeed at a world-class level. Presently, he is working on a film project, Supercrip, a story about an unlikely friendship between an Uber driver and a movie star. A short promotional film reveals that the film's purpose is to showcase diversity and inclusion of people with challenges in the film business. Toby Forrest, I can't believe I get to say this, but welcome to Different.
Thank you so much for having me, Ari. And I gotta say, great intro.
Aw, thank you so much. Thank you too. Toby, you are such a fascinating human being. Can you describe the accident that left you with your current physical challenges to my audience?
I was about 22, almost 23 years old, just graduated college. I was a jeweler and a musician at the time. I was also a bit of a wild child. I loved extreme sports. I was diving off of a waterfall in the Grand Canyon, and it was too shallow. And I unfortunately shattered the 5th vertebrae and became a quadriplegic. I did a little bit of drowning, did a little bit of dying, but they're not ready for my sense of humor up there, or down there, or whichever
I'm shocked
direction
the National
I'm going.
Park Service didn't stop you, to be honest. Park Service
what someone had been there before and said, they dove off that place, but they didn't know that the water level changes. So.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You did mention that the water level was extremely low. There was some type of drought or something,
exactly. Yeah,
which I didn't even know could exist in the Grand Canyon. I thought it was just always dry there.
Oh, it is beautiful. I mean, if you're going to get
in the spring, it probably gets water. Is when the water is the highest.
But to me, it was like I got to have my life change in one of the most beautiful places on earth. So, there's
surreal.
2 ways to look at it. I could have a life-changing, debilitating injury, or I can have a life-altering experience that now leads me towards other paths and has really also introduced me to the disabled community, which is a really extraordinary group of people that often go overlooked. So
you've basically
it's great
become
to
a
now
jack
be
of
able to
all
be in the
trades.
entertainment industry and be able to push that agenda.
Sorry to butt in there. You've kind of become a jack of all trades.
What was that?
You've kind of become a jack of all trades?
My joke is that I'll do whatever doesn't pay me.
Similar.
So, but I think I'm a creative person, and I can't not be creating. It's a bit of an affliction, and I really feel a desire to create art. And if it has a message behind it, then that's fantastic. And if it can affect people or society in any way or shape or form, then even better.
That's amazing, because I love the motivation behind artists, and we need more artists in this world, and that's something that we don't have enough of. We have to find talent. Talent should be finding us.
I agree. And I think that often that comes from not only a lack of opportunity, but a lack of instilling confidence in people. And I think if more people had the support system and the confidence that they can really be whatever they want and strive after any
Don't
dream
let
that they
things get you
choose,
down.
then that's what we need to do. I had a really amazing experience, Ari, and that was to be, I think, the only singer in a wheelchair, maybe the only person in a wheelchair on the Oscar stage. And the only thing I cared about, I was fortunate enough to be in the 2020 Oscar choir, and the only thing I cared about was, could a little kid out watching this see that there's someone in a wheelchair? And I have an elevator on my wheelchair, and I just kept on raising my wheelchair up, going, all right, is a kid going to make sure, I want to know if a kid out there in a wheelchair is going to see that there's a guy in a wheelchair on the stage, and that they can do that no matter what obstacles they think are in the way.
You never realize the story behind a performance.
Right, yeah.
So, what made you take this route? Like, I know you had an accident, but what drove you towards show business? You mentioned the desire for creation. Was there anything else that did?
My story was a bit of an accident, actually. Kind of like my accident was an accident. Before that, I was a jeweler and a musician and a very athletic person. And so now my timing had to change with having a spinal cord injury. I went back to school. I got a master's in psychology. And while I was studying psychology, I had to portray someone with Alzheimer's.
Oh.
So I wrote a monologue about a guy with Alzheimer's. And after I did it, my class said, how come you're not an actor? And I just kind of blew it off and laughed. And a year or so later, after I graduated, I ended up moving to Los Angeles to do research at UCLA. And someone told me about the Media Access Awards and a scholarship called a Christopher Reeve Acting Scholarship. But you had to audition. And the only thing I had was this old man with Alzheimer's. And I brought it in, and I auditioned, and I ended up winning the award and was given the award by Christopher Reeve at the Media Access Awards. And that was my first year here in Los Angeles, and it altered my life. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to pursue acting, because psychology, I got issues with people that can't cope, and I'm not a great listener.
I can't take it. I would be a bad person with psychology too. I'd probably be laughing at the patients. I
know. I'm like, give me a real problem.
I know. But it's also interesting because when you have a problem in the neuropsych, when you have an issue, it might seem like it's really challenging, but to another person it will look like simple. But they have their own problems, which you think are simple. So it works two ways in the end.
I do believe that everything is relative, my friend. Yeah. You know, some people are very wary about asking why I'm in a wheelchair, right? But whenever I see someone with a Band-Aid on, I'm like, hey, what happened? You know? So it's
I think it's that the wheelchair, though, is that you can't take it off.
That's true. That's a good point. But I think also society is a bit scared to ask these questions, and not that you should be going up to everybody in a wheelchair and going like, "Hey, what happened? Why are you in a wheelchair?" You know, if there's a question, and if someone, for instance, I need help with a lot of doors, and I have no problem when someone goes, "Can I help you with this door?" Because I'm the same way. If I'm next to a door, I don't care who's coming towards it. I would open it for anybody. And I'll tell you, here's a fun story, because I was, again, fortunate enough to be on a set with Viola Davis and be able to have a one-on-one with Viola Davis. But before I met her, and I was there at the set for How to Get Away with Murder, and she's coming up towards the door and just says hi to everybody, and she opens the door and walks in. And moments later, the PA, who was right next to the door, says, "Oh, should I have opened the door for her? Like, oh my God." And another PA says, "Well, I don't know. She's a pretty independent person. Maybe she wants to open the door for herself. And she's like a big time actress. She's the star of the show." So, they didn't know what to do. And I sat there and I realized that this is exactly what happens when I go up to a door. And Viola Davis and I are the same exact person. And people go, "Do I open the door for this guy in the wheelchair? Do I not? Is it going to be offensive? Do they want to be independent?" And the real quick answer is ask or offer.
What about automatic doors?
Well, I'll open them for anybody that's coming.
You just like put your fingers between the thing and you just tear them apart?
I do exactly what Ewan McGregor does, which is I use the force. Whenever I go up to an automatic door, I just, Professor X the door open.
Okay, so you've also just told me that being among Titans is very intimidating for certain people. And so actors that were the Titans, so like did these Titans like Viola Davis and Christopher Reeve treat you with the respect that you've expected? Or
you know what? I can tell you're an interviewer, Ari. You went straight for the good stuff, didn't you?
Yeah.
I've been so fortunate. I mean, the people that I've met along the way have been so gracious to me and kind. One of the first people I met was Alan Rickman. So I was fortunate enough. The first job I did was just an extra job, and was with the same director who I'm working with for Super Crip, was with Randy. And we'll go full circle with this later. But I was able to meet Alan Rickman and Professor Snape, Hans Rickman, the Hans Gruber, one of the most famous villains of all time. And he sat down with me for over an hour, and we just talked about everything. We talked about theater and life, and was just so sweet and kind. And Viola Davis, same way. Just jokes. We were joking all day long. At the end of the day, she gave me the biggest hug. She actually was able to crack my back, which felt amazing. And, and I've had some really extraordinary experiences, I don't know that I've had anything too wild happen, because you're busy working most of the time. And so the wild stuff probably happens with people off. But the most intimidating probably was my first big guest starring role, which was with Jim Belushi, and it was his show, and I met the security guard at the studio before I got the job, before I went to work on it, and I said, "Well, I asked what you asked, all right, who's the worst? What's the worst kind of situation? Who's the worst person, basically?" And she was like, "Jim Belushi," and I was like, "I worked with him on Monday." And so I was expecting, I was put up on this pedestal of expecting it to be tough, but he was a sweet dude and was really kind and made jokes with me and, joked that a guy in a wheelchair stole his girlfriend in college. And I said, it wasn't me, so, but
oh boy.
I've been very
Did
fortunate.
you actually go to college together?
No, I think I'm a bit younger than Jim Belushi.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I've had great experiences. I can't complain one bit.
I gotta say, that is some funny stories that I've just heard.
Well, I'll tell you the best one is I met Mel Brooks, and he kissed me on my head and told me I was beautiful, and to drop my stuff off at the studios. And this is right when I moved to Los Angeles. And I just didn't have the guts to ever drop my stuff off at the studio for Mel Brooks. You know, I missed a big opportunity, but
You never know what they're gonna do.
You never know. Full circle, right?
You made it so. Many people I've met on my show have expressed difficulty in acquiring a job because of their physical or social challenges. And have you ever experienced any bias in job opportunities because of your challenges?
Ari, absolutely. I mean, there is no doubt about it. I have a C5 spinal cord injury. I'm very limited. I'm honest about it. Physically, I'm very limited with the abilities that I have. I mean, I can't get a job flipping burgers. I can't get a job at a number of different types of places. And I found acting, and I found that it was an amazing job because I'm able to, more often than not, just be a guy who happens to be in a wheelchair, who just happens to be doing something that he can totally do. And to be able to have that opportunity is amazing. But it's very rare for performers with disabilities to even get hired or even get an opportunity. Over 20% of the population is disabled, but less than 1% of every disabled character that you see on film and television is played by somebody with a disability. So more often than not, it's able-bodied people who have gotten the job portraying a disabled person. And that discrepancy seems huge to me, because in any other industry, there would be a set of practices there that says, you know what, a certain percentage of your workforce needs to include people with disabilities so that they have opportunities. And unfortunately, I understand as an actor, it's a really great stretch to play a person with a disability. What a great opportunity to be able to do that. But in the process, you're stealing a job from somebody that only has usually an opportunity to play someone with a disability, because jobs that are for that, like casting jobs, are so far and few between, and they're not going to say, unless they say with a wheelchair or in a wheelchair, or unless the role says that the character requires a wheelchair, then a performer with a disability, or requires a disability, a performer with a disability is not even going to be considered. And then if it's a major role, now they're going to say, oh, we need a star name in order to sell this movie. And so we're going to digitally disable somebody so that we can sell this movie. Like, right? We need authentic representation as well. Otherwise, we're being lied to in a way.
Now I want to focus on your new upcoming movie, Super Crip, where you star as an Uber driver, and where Randall Miller is the director. Did he have you in mind, in particular, over any other actor for this role?
Well, I'll tell you, Ari, I've known Randy since the movie I did with him called Nobel's Son, where Alan Rickman starred, and I had this amazing experience meeting him. And Randy sort of kept up with my career as things progressed, and a couple years ago, he wrote me in as a character for a movie that he was doing called Coffee Wars. Coffee Wars is actually out right now. It's on Amazon. People can go and rent it or buy it, and all the proceeds are going to go towards animal and environmental rights. So he wrote me in as the head judge for that movie. And one of the days I kind of went to go visit him, I drove up in my van, and someone joked, "Oh, well, your Uber driver's here." I think my uncle was there and joked, "Oh, your Uber driver's here." And Randy came up with this idea about, oh my gosh, what if Toby, who's an actor, is a struggling actor, this is real life stuff, played an Uber driver who picked up a famous actor, and that famous actor was offered a role that would revive his career, but the role happened to be of a guy in a wheelchair. So this famous actor hires my character, who's a struggling actor, to be his driver so that he can character study him and play a guy in a wheelchair better so that he can star in this movie. And it's really it exemplifies the struggle that goes on in Hollywood now of people with disabilities trying to get a part while someone else might sort of already have their foot in the door. And how does that affect a friendship that's developing in the process? So
that sounds like an amazing idea for a film. In the promotional video clip, Toby, you talk about being on set and when a caterer sarcastically commented that you are committed to your character. Can you please share how you reacted to this comment?
Oh, yes. So I was on set, and they had a ton of extras. It was all just folks in wheelchairs and walkers and crutches, and it was supposed to be a school for the disabled. And I was the only person who happened to actually have a disability that was hired for the show. And when we went to lunch, I happened to be in line, and I rolled up to the food, and the girl behind me, who was an actor, she was an extra as well, she says, "Wow, you're really committed to your character." And I said, what are you talking about? She says, "Well, you're still in the wheelchair." And I said, "Oh, yeah. No, I'm legit. Like, I'm actually really disabled. So can you get me some potatoes?"
That must really be so embarrassing, though, to ask. Just like what would go through your head to ask that.
Right. And let me tell you, Ari, so that's one of the things that we want to do with Super Crip, is be able to have the opportunity to flip that whole idea, right? So instead of having a bunch of able-bodied people playing disabled folks, why couldn't we have disabled folks playing all kinds of characters? Everything from people with disabilities to people that you don't even know have disabilities to characters that don't have disabilities, right? Why can't the girl behind the counter be in a wheelchair and you never even know it? And it's really about the opportunities. And so with Super Crip, what we want to do, we've developed a line of NFTs, these really fun, amazing NFTs that we're selling to help generate funds for the movie, so that we don't need people to go, "Well, you're going to need a famous name to play the guy in the wheelchair, and we're going to need a bunch of other names, so we can't, give opportunities to people with this movie." We want to eliminate that argument and say, listen, we've raised funds with these really cool NFTs, and we're going to hire people with disabilities on and off screen to help create a balanced caste system where we've got people that have opportunities and will be able to then broaden their future with a good resume and a good experience. And hopefully that will lay a foundation that other movies can then follow. So one of the cool things about people buying NFTs to help raise funding for the movie is that instead of just donating money and giving it to this idea, what they're doing is they're, one, giving it to an opportunity to create a more diverse workplace in the entertainment industry, but also, two, to get this really cool, awesome artwork that is interactive that's got a value to it, that you can actually play a game with. We're going to have games that you can use the NFTs to race each other. There's also going to be prizes that are given away, a trip to Disneyland, a bowling trip, all sort of ideas that relate to our characters as well. And if people go to supercrypt.io, you can go to supercrypt.io, or you can go to Twitter and check out Supercrypt NFT. They'll learn a lot more. They'll be able to check out these images. And they're all caricatures of me, essentially, a guy in a wheelchair, playing or displayed as all of these famous characters from movies that don't have a disability.
That's
so
crazy.
You've got me as Freddy Krueger. You've got me as Lames Bond. Darth Respirator. There's all tons of different characters on there that are pop culture icons. And when you look at the NFTs, you realize, oh my God, that's the message. People with disabilities aren't even getting to play themselves, much less be able to play, a lead character in a film.
And I do think it would actually add a depth to of characters such as Darth Vader.
Now, here's the irony, right? Here's the irony, Ari. I'm sure you get this if you like Star Wars. But whenever someone goes, what's Star Wars about? I say, it's about a amputee father trying to get his amputee son into the family business. You think about it, the most powerful guy in the Star Wars universe is the most disabled person. And what a powerful message, but they're kind of missing. Maybe they need to jump on board with, with that.
Yeah. And I would like to end this video. I'm sorry. I'm leaving that in my interview. I would like to end this interview on a very human note. Reading about and watching clips of you, I realize you have a great sense of humor. And I wanted to tell you that. And I also understand you are a musician of the band Citizen. Is there any song from Citizen that you want us to play after the show is over?
Wow, that's a tough question, Ari. I could give you Dealer's Choice.
Dealer's Choice is the name?
No, it would be whatever you decide. You could go by title if you like. But
what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, I did a show where this is a pretty remarkable opportunity as an actor and a singer and a new driver for a van. But I did the show Wisdom of the Crowd. And in that show, my character's talking about the lizard people. And while I was on set, I told the writer, I have a song called Lizard People. And he said, great, send it to me. Let's see what we can do. So when the show came out, not only are the other characters talking to my character, but in the background, they're listening to Lizard People by Citizen. And I told a friend of mine, I said, that's pretty cool. I'm in two places at once because they're listening to me and they're talking to me at the same time. And he said, no, because that's a whole different character. So you're actually two different people in the same universe, which I'll take that. That was pretty fun. Bucket list material to have my song, my acting, and I also got to be in my van, and I got paid for all three things.
That is very cool. So, at the end of this show, you're going to hear Lizard People by Citizen. And is there anything you would like to tell my audience before we part?
Thank you so much for having me, Ari. I would love it if your listeners are able to check out a few things. One, go to Coffee Wars. It's on Amazon right now, and all of the proceeds will go to animal and environmental rights. So please check that out and give us a good review if you can. Also, check out supercrypt.io or go to Twitter and check out Supercrypt NFT. and you'll learn about our project there and some of the great sponsors that we have, our amazing team. We've got an amazing team of folks over at Supercrypt doing some awesome stuff. You can also follow me on Instagram, Tobias Forrest, and I'll update you with some great stuff there. So
Tobias Forrest.
Yeah, actually on Instagram, I throw my middle name in there. It's actually Tobias, Tobias Forrest, Tobias Easy Forrest. And I guess I live up to my middle name. I hope this has been easy for you.
Thank you for being on my show, and everyone must get out to see Supercrypt. And will it be released anytime soon?
Well, we've got a great strategy in place and a great timeline. I mean, movies take a while. It'll probably take a couple years for it to really come to fruition of being made and getting out into the world. But we've got a great toe in the sand, and we're just driving forward and appreciate all the support and,
That's perfect.
and opportunity to spread the word.
That's perfect, and we have to close now. You were so generous to take time out of your day to be here today, and you have proved that being different drives your success as an actor and musician, and you are mind-blowing. Before we go, I'd like to remind our audience that Tobias Forrest has had a great band known as Citizen and sings on his own, too. I want to remind everyone to look out for his release of Supercrypt and Toby's band, Citizen, and now we will hear his recording of Lizard People. My name is Ari Kotler, the host of Different, and you are listening to SleepyHollowRadio.com.
Taking over the world. They hide behind disguises, look like every boy and girl. That's why you shouldn't trust children, because it could be lizard folk. It could be your own son or daughter, and you would never know. Yeah. Better be scared. People taking over the world. They arrived in a magic spacecraft powered by fossil fuel. Destroyed their own home planet, and now they can never go back. Keep an eye open over your shoulder, cause they are about to attack. Yeah. You better be scared. You better be scared. I've seen them, I'm not the only one. You too can see them, just look into the sun. It only takes some moments, then just turn your eyes. That is when you see them, these children of lies. These children of lies. Right here in the streets. Soon they will hunger, then they will start to eat. As they walk among us, right here in the streets. Soon they will hunger, then they will start to eat. War has begun, and an army has formed. The air is quiet, awaiting storm. Rain comes to fall, so does their skin, revealing the truth, the beast is within. Start the motor, time has run out, transformation has started. What's wrong with you now? Skin is shedding, your eyes start to glow. Look at me hungry, I back away slow. All of my fears, so suddenly true. Boy, I never saw the lizard in you. I turn to run, find an escape. You are too fast, I am too late. I turn to run, find an escape. You are too fast, I am too late. When it's over, when it's all said and done, when there's no soldiers and the reptiles have won, then they will find out their greatest mistake. The humans are a poison that the lizards just